The galaxy knew humans as the quiet ones. They smiled and nodded during council meetings while elder species debated wars that predated Earth's first civilizations. They signed treaties with steady hands and built colonies on harsh worlds without complaint. Most species considered them pleasant enough, if unremarkable. Harmless. Lyra thought she understood them better than most. The Vulcan engineer had worked alongside humans for 6 years on the frontier station, watching them tinker with machinery and share strange foods from their homeworld. They laughed at jokes she didn't understand and spoke in idioms that made no literal sense. But they were kind, gentle even. When Marcus asked her to marry him under the light of 3 moons, she said yes without hesitation. He was everything she wanted, thoughtful, patient, and steady as a star's gravity. He fixed broken equipment with clever hands and listened more than he spoke. The other Vulcan warned her that humans were too soft, that their short lifespans made them poor partners, but she ignored them. Love didn't consult species classifications. They married in a ceremony that blended both cultures. Marcus wore the blue sash of Vulcan tradition. Lyra carried the Earth custom of flowers, though the blooms came from a station greenhouse. Their home became a comfortable mixture of her people's angular furniture and his round Earth aesthetics. He cooked meals with too much salt. She played music he claimed hurt his ears, but smiled through anyway. Life was good. Marcus never talked about his past. When asked about his family, he gave short answers. When conversation turned to the wars humans had supposedly fought before joining galactic society, he changed the subject. Lyra assumed he was simply private. Many beings carried histories they preferred to keep closed. She didn't press. The blade hung above their doorway for 2 years before she thought to ask about it. The weapon was simple, a long, slightly curved edge with a wrapped handle, mounted horizontally on the wall. Human decoration, she assumed, like the paintings and photographs scattered through their quarters. "What's that for?" she asked one evening. Marcus glanced up from his datapad. "Protection. From what?" "We live on a station with security." He smiled that quiet smile of his. Old habit. She let it go. The raiders came on a Tuesday, if station time could be called such. They were Korth, a species known for aggression and territorial expansion. 3 ships materialized from jump space without warning, jamming communications and blasting through the station's outer shields. Alarms shrieked. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency reds. Lyra grabbed Marcus's arm. The shelter, now. They ran with hundreds of others through the corridors. The Korth moved fast, reaching the hull in 6 places. Soldiers poured through, armed with plasma rifles and bone clubs. They weren't here for negotiation. The Korth took stations by force, enslaved the populations, stripped the resources. Everyone knew this. Everyone feared this. The shelter door was closing when they arrived. A crush of bodies pushed forward. Lyra made it through. Marcus was 3 steps behind when the Korth appeared at the corridor's end. 5 soldiers, big as cargo haulers. Their scaled skin reflected the red emergency lights. They roared something in their harsh language and raised their weapons. Marcus stopped running. "What are you doing?" Lyra screamed. "Move!" He didn't move. He turned to face them. The soldiers laughed. One of them made a gesture that clearly meant surrender or die. Marcus stood still, his face blank in that way she'd seen 1,000 times when he was thinking. Then he spoke in a language she'd never heard him use, guttural Korth words that made the soldiers pause. They responded. An exchange followed, quick and brutal sounding. Then one soldier raised his rifle. Marcus moved. She didn't see him draw the blade. One moment his hands were empty. The next, steel flashed under red light. The first soldier's rifle clattered to the floor in 2 pieces. The second soldier swung his bone club. Marcus ducked under it, stepped inside the reach, and drove his shoulder into the Korth's chest. The soldier, easily twice Marcus's mass, stumbled backward. The blade sang. That's the only word Lyra could use later to describe it. The metal hummed as it cut through air, through armor, through weapons raised to block. Marcus moved like water, like gravity itself had different rules for him. Each step flowed into the next. Each strike came from angles that shouldn't exist. The third soldier managed to fire his plasma rifle. The bolt burned past Marcus's shoulder, so close it singed his shirt. He didn't flinch. He closed the distance, turned the blade horizontal, and struck with the flat edge against the soldier's weapon. The rifle exploded from the impact. The soldier roared and charged. Marcus sidestepped, dragged the blade across the back of the soldier's knee, and dropped him to the floor. 3 soldiers down. The remaining 2 backed away. Marcus said something else in Korth. His voice was calm, almost gentle. The words meant nothing to Lyra, but the soldiers understood. They looked at each other, and they ran. The corridor fell silent, except for the alarms and the groaning of injured. Korth. Marcus wiped the blade on his pants and walked to the shelter door. He knocked twice. It's clear. The door opened a crack. Station security personnel stared out, weapons ready. They saw Marcus standing over 5 Korth soldiers, 3 injured and 2 fled, and their expressions went blank with shock. Someone should secure these, Marcus said, gesturing to the groaning soldiers. They'll recover. Lyra stumbled out of the shelter. Her legs felt weak. What just happened? Marcus looked at her. His face was spattered with blood, his shirt torn, his breathing steady. I protected you. You moved like... She couldn't finish. Like a human, he said quietly. The Korth withdrew within an hour. Station scans showed their ships retreating at maximum speed. No demands. No negotiations. They simply left, abandoning soldiers and equipment. When the station commander reviewed the security footage, she watched it 6 times without speaking. Word spread fast. The human who fought 5 Korth soldiers alone. The quiet maintenance worker who moved like death itself. Within a day, every species on the station knew. Lyra sat in their quarters while Marcus made tea. The blade was back above the doorway. Her hands shook when she held the cup. How? She asked. Marcus sat across from her. Training. What kind of training does that? The kind humans do, he said. Before we met the galaxy, we had thousands of years to perfect violence. We fought each other in every way possible. Blades, tactics, hand to hand. We studied it like science. We built philosophies around it. But you're so. She gestured helplessly. You fix machines. You make dinner. You laugh at bad jokes. Yes. So why didn't you tell me? Marcus sipped his tea. Because it's not who I am anymore. I left that life. Came out here to build instead of destroy. But the skills don't leave. The training stays. The other species don't know, do they? About humans. Some do. The ones who read history. The ones who pay attention. He met her eyes. We're good at pretending to be harmless. It's safer that way. For everyone. Lyra thought about the council meetings, the negotiations, the way human diplomats always seemed to compromise first, the way human colonies never pushed boundaries or made demands, the way her people and the Korth and a dozen other species treated humans like children playing at civilization. They think we're weak, she said. I know. You let them think that. Marcus nodded. Better to be underestimated than feared. Fear makes people do stupid things. But you just fought 5 Korth soldiers. That footage is everywhere. One human, Marcus said. in one station, protecting his family. Most species will call it luck or adrenaline. They'll explain it away because accepting the truth is harder. Lyra set down her cup. Her hands had stopped shaking. What's the truth? Marcus stood and walked to the blade mounted on the wall. He touched the handle gently, the way someone might touch a memory. The truth is that humans spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing before we ever left our solar system. We built weapons that could crack planets. We wrote books on strategy that other species still haven't imagined. We turned violence into philosophy, war into poetry, death into dance. He turned back to her. And then we decided to stop, to be better. But the knowledge doesn't vanish. The capability doesn't disappear. We just choose not to use it until you have to. Until I have to, he agreed. She stood and crossed to him, took his hands in hers. They were calloused from work, scarred from old injuries she'd never asked about. Human hands. Gentle hands. Deadly hands. I'm glad you were here, she said. Me too. They stood together under the blade while the station settled into uneasy calm. Outside their quarters, species whispered about the quiet human who wasn't quiet anymore. Diplomatic channels buzzed with questions. The Korth sent no formal apology, but they didn't return either. Marcus went back to fixing machines the next day. He smiled at colleagues and ate lunch in the station cafeteria. He held Lyra's hand when they walked through the corridors. Life resumed its comfortable patterns. But everyone noticed the way other humans nodded to Marcus now. The subtle respect in their posture. The knowing look in their eyes. And the way, when Korth ships appeared on long-range scanners in the following months, they always jumped away before coming too close. The galaxy still thought humans were quiet, harmless, weak. Lyra knew better. She lived with a man who see.